Welcome back, Astro listeners, to this full moon edition of the Star Lady Soul Reader Network. This is Medium Monk, and as usual, we have our shining star of the zodiac on the line, and here's Star Lady.
Hello, Medium Monk. I am also joined by a sleeping little kitten, Jezziel.
Well, at least we all know who you are, the managing director for the Evolutionary Astrology Network. Kim Marie continues to certify new evolutionary astrologers worldwide. She produces a lot of forecasting webinars and podcasts like these. Of course, a lot of other materials you can see on our website at www.evolutionaryastrology.net. I think we have our Astro Library on sale for $50 off. That's the lifetime version where you get plenty of time to look over hundreds and hundreds of hours and peruse through those files and kind of free float through evolutionary astrology. Of course, we always have our more disciplined approach, which is the EA course, and we've kind of put up the old option to get the binders shipped to you. So again, nothing's on DVD anymore, but the binders and material, a lot of people find it very influential in their studies. So we can ship that binder out. You get access to hundreds and hundreds of hours of the more Virgo-type approach to EA with the EA course. All right, so more information, call 605-348-5111, and also dial that number to get scheduled for your personal session with Star Lady. All right, honey, I'll turn it over to you. Welcome, everybody.
All right, thank you, Medium Monk. We are back in the house and recording this full moon of Aquarius podcast. What is it, 2 days after the full moon? I think it is. We're recording this on August 11th. The full moon was August 9th. It's 17 degrees, Sun Leo, full moon of Aquarius. And so, how well are you being emotionally objective in your life? That's going to be the intent of Pluto and Aquarius over the next 20 years. Every time we have a full moon of Aquarius, which will come along in the summer, it's a time to be emotionally objective as well. And sometimes when that moon then goes into Pisces, it can give you an emotional reaction to the world maybe not going the way you want it to, or being asked to emotionally release, let go in some ways from what you found with Moon in Aquarius. But it can also bring you some emotional rewards and feeling connected to the universe, Pisces. May that be the case for you. This full moon had a Grand Trine in air, and you could even say that it had a kite going on, as we call it in astrology. The Grand Trine is when three planets make a perfect circle together, and you can take one point and go opposite that, and planets make sextiles to the other 2 points of the trine. It looks like a kite. That's what we've had going on during this full moon, and it will be in an orb of influence for, let's say probably, I'm looking at my Mars aspects here, for a good week, maybe almost to the end of the month, I'd say, before it starts to ebb out of this kite formation with Mars. So Pluto's retrograde early Aquarius. Uranus is slowing down to go retrograde early Gemini. Mars has just entered Libra. Grand Trine in air. Great time for communications. Mercury direct. What is it that you need to communicate, be it spoken, written, and even non-verbally communicated? this can be a good resolution time, a good opportunity to maybe make some progress, to get on the same page with others, to understand another person's perspective and vice versa. So utilize this time period to communicate with others however you need to do so. One of the things that's happening, well, I spoke about this last podcast, but let me just briefly mention it again. When Mars goes into early Libra, which was August 6th through September 22nd, the day before the full moon, August 8th, it made an opposition to Saturn. And then right after that full moon, it makes an opposition to Neptune. That is the opposition of one of the trine points that I spoke about. Mars is in the opposite sign of its rulership. The other two planets are in the sign it rules, Aries. How well are we balancing giving and receiving with others? I think your traditional astrology will call a planet in its opposite sign and its detriment. I'm not a traditional astrologer, so I could be wrong on that one. I have Mars in Libra natally. So I just always look at a planet in any of the 12 archetypes that can be distorted or naturally expressed. You know, the distortions of Mars in Libra are, you know, extreme neediness or projecting things on to others and then having that disappointment when they don't give to you as you want to be given to, or you do too much giving and it's not reciprocated. Another distortion of Mars in Libra can be the whole imbalance of power, because Libra's trying to balance everything. So somebody does all the work, somebody else doesn't do all the work. Well, a natural expression of Mars in Libra is deep psychology of listening and taking action from the degree that we listen and understand another's perspective. Now, that Saturn retrograde, balsamic Neptune retrograde, and early Aries can really be pushing some of these distortions. My way or the highway, my way or the highway. I want it my way. If that's happening for you, how well can you take a deep breath, listen, express your communications a little better. Again, got that Grand Trine in air to help you with that. However, what we really have building up for us is the fact that these outer planets are in process of getting ready to make a whole bunch of sextiles and trines to each other. As we are recording this, I guess we're recording this August 10th. Monday, August 11th, Saturn will make the second of 3 waning sextiles to Uranus. The second of 3 waning sextiles to Uranus. This is going to take place at 1 degree Saturn retrograde Aries and 1 degree Gemini for Uranus as they get ready to slow down. I recently did a webinar on Saturn and Aries, and I did one on Uranus and Gemini. You can find those for free on our YouTube channel, Evolutionary Astro Net. Evolutionary Astro Net. As I was prepping, I thought, I'm just going to read you a few words of what I wrote about Saturn waning sextile Uranus. Thank you for allowing me to read this. There's a danger in increasing wars around resources as the technology needs rare earth minerals to build almost anything electronic. Uranus rules electricity and electronics. Saturn Aries can get quite aggressive over controlling resources. If you're following any of this with Donald Trump's tariffs and the chips and the fact that all these chips that we want to build here, We don't have enough rare earth minerals. I spoke on a previous podcast on how they're, searching for these rare earth minerals in the Black Hills where I live, as well as all over our country, trying to minimize the dependency upon other countries. Stay tuned. We'll see how that goes. And sometimes that necessity is the mother of all inventions. And so Saturn and Aries can speed up technological inventions. And Uranus is always busting up Saturn crystallizations in order to innovate into the future. Saturn can attempt to deny evolution for the security of yesterday. So this waning sextile that's in last quarter phase, we can be getting messages about how we want to move forward, but we can also just want to put our head in the sand and ignore the reality, Saturn, of what's going on for us. However, survival and adaptability become major themes throughout the rest of the decade. Survival crises that force humanity to consider new choices for food, clothing, and shelter. 2 of these 3 waning sextiles take place with Uranus in the tail end of Taurus. And that brings in the food, clothing, shelter aspect. So this middle waning sextile that we have August 11th, that's the one that's in fire and air signs with the potential for insights and moving forward. Stay tuned. How is it happening personally for you? And of course, the other thing that happens for us, August 11th, is Mercury direct. So this weekend of the full moon, we are in the middle of Mercury standing still, getting ready to go stationary direct and move forward. I always say you want to pay attention, drive defensively, because Mercury direct can be just as impactful as Mercury stationary retrograde. It can still feel like a lot of the mercurial chaos, even as things appear to move forward. In my case, I got back from the last of our rental seasons back in the house, and all of a sudden I had this plethora of writing deadlines. So, just a little example. There's Mercury direct. We're moving through them. I have a wonderful editor in Media Monk, although we can really go back and forth with each other sometimes. But we managed to take deep breaths and smooth it out. Oh, and by the way, while I'm at it, happy birthday, Media Monk. He has a solar return that Monday the 11th. His birthday is August 12th, right in the middle of a Venus-Jupiter conjunction at 14 degrees Cancer, just inside your Cancer ascendant and just past your natal Venus in Cancer. So thank you, everybody, for wishing Media Monk a happy birthday. I love your Cancer rising, honey. I call him a matriarchal male. He can, sports galore growing up, but he has that soft Cancer, Venetian Cancer quality to him that I really appreciate. So, happy birthday, honey. And thank you. You're most welcome. You're most welcome. I just want to do a little bit longer forecasting for a moment here. I'll speak to this the next forecast, but the other thing that we have going on is Uranus in Gemini. Let me check on this one for you. Uranus in Gemini is going to have 5 waxing sextiles to Neptune in Aries. 5 of them, 25, 26, 27. Remember, they had a conjunction back in 1993. 3 conjunctions in 93, 18 to 20 degrees Capricorn. the 172-year cycle of spiritual evolution and societal revolution. I call their 1993 conjunctions the technological revolution. Again, since then, we all now have computers. We now all have cell phones. Very rare that any of us had a cell phone back in the 1980s. Although Media Monk ran around with a big box one. He had it for work. He was one of those real early adapters in regards to those things. Big old box, if you remember those. Well, that waxing sextile is in the crescent phase, and so I call it the struggle to review and sustain the new beginnings. Here again, I'm reading from my Uranus and Gemini webinar. Actualizing our individuality from our deepest beliefs. Neptune's imagination sparks Uranian genius. Now, it can be hard for us to keep up with all these technological changes. The broadest intent is for science and technology to serve natural spiritual laws and principles. That will only happen to the degree that the masses demand it, because there can be the famous religious denial of science. And we can see that going on in the Trump administration, where RFK Jr., there are some things that I'm just a cheerleader for him in advocating a lot of chemicals getting out of our food supply and helping us eat healthier and more naturally. But there also are things that I deeply disagree with. There are things that science has done to really lengthen the time periods we live, that give us protection against a lot of diseases and viruses and bacteria in the world. So let's see how all this turns out with these 5 Uranus waxing sextiles to Neptune over the next couple of years. Can we coexist with nature in its natural cycles? Or do we have consensus societies that try to have dominion over nature and have to face the consequences of nature having the last word? For instance, climate change. And so, because Uranus is in Gemini and 4 of these 5 waxing sextiles, I say that worldwide humanity can seem to exist in 2 different worlds. Those wanting to move towards peace, sustainability, and mitigating the effects of climate change, and those that just want to war and have power over, and again, just be in complete denial of humanity's effects on nature. Well, one more time, I think we know who gets to have the last word, and it is not us humans. I also think that there's a possibility that we'll have worldwide majorities realizing that extreme choices, waxing sextiles are choice points, that extreme choices need to be made for the survival of the planet. Here's a slide that I put in a lot of my Uranus-Neptune webinars. As technology advances, remember, you are the most brilliant creation. I think that's a beautiful mantra for these Uranus-Neptune waxing sextiles. That first one's going to be August 28th, and Uranus would be 1.5 degrees Gemini. It goes stationary retrograde in just a week after August 28th. Neptune will be retrograde 1.5 degrees Aries. Now, the other major thing that's going to go on, in addition to Uranus making waxing sextiles to Neptune, Uranus is also going to make waxing trines to Pluto. The Uranus, 5 waxing sextiles to Neptune, 25 through 27. Uranus, 5 waxing trines to Pluto, 26 through 2028. Here's what's interesting with their waxing trines. That was part of that Grand Trine that I told you. Mars in Libra, Pluto in Aquarius, Uranus in Gemini. Well, Uranus in Gemini, it's only a degree from making that waxing trine to Pluto on this full moon. A month from now, in early September, Uranus goes retrograde September 5th. September 7th, we're going to have a lunar eclipse. And on that lunar eclipse, Uranus will be 12 minutes, not 12 degrees, less than a quarter of a degree, 12 minutes from a waxing trine with Pluto. That's because Pluto's retrograde, Uranus is going to go stationary retrograde, so they're going to get within a quarter of a degree of making a trine to each other this fall. They won't make those actual trines until 2026, 5 of them. All of them in Aquarius, Uranus in Gemini, Saturn in Aquarius. And I had, my words for Uranus and Pluto, they are a 127-year cycle. Their last conjunctions were 65, 66, 3 of them 16 to 17 degrees Virgo. The soul's evolution of its individuated unconsciousness. And I've said for a long time, trines are rewards of prior efforts, both positive and negative. Depends upon whether or not you've made the efforts. And so, these waxing trines can really see technology move forward, and can we keep up with it? But there can also be some major distortions, especially in the world of communications. For instance, the President of the United States not liking labor reports coming out about, the creation of jobs going backwards, and so fires that person to then just put out different words that have no basis in fact. So the distortions of these Uranus waxing trines to Pluto is to just have words that have no relationship to reality. Well, EA's had this expression for a long time. You can distort the truth. You can suppress the truth. However, you cannot destroy truth. And so, Uranus waxing trines to Pluto, there also is the potential for masses of people all over the world to educate themselves and to move forward from the few who like to say, the sky is full of pink and purple or whatever color polka dots when the sky is blue. You get my point. So we have a background going on of these lower moving outer planets doing a dance, doing dances that really let us move forward, but also we have to be careful in consensus consciousness, approximately 70% of humanity, of, falling for the lie to just be secure. And to the degree that we do that, we're going to get a few upsets. Stay tuned, everybody. Most of us are going to be living through it. Finally, the day before the new moon that will happen at 0.5 Virgo on August 23rd, the day before that, the sun goes into Virgo on August 22nd. My evolutionary mantra that I created a long time ago for Sun in Virgo, I discern with intuitive wholeness. I discern Virgo with intuitive wholeness, the Pisces polarity. And so, this is what you really want to do through Sun in Virgo coming up here, is to be able to use those analytical qualities of Virgo and discern for yourself what is real and what is not real. You can use that good old mantra, show me the truth, show me the truth, show me the truth. And the universe, if you, as you sincerely ask, the universe will respond to you in a multitude of ways. And it will also show you intuitively. So, if you want to, start using this mantra now, because Mercury's going direct in Leo, it's going to enter Virgo. Venus is slow, but it's going to go through Virgo. Mars just got done with Virgo. I discern with intuitive wholeness. All right, Media Monk. Thank you one more time. Happy solar return, Media Monk.
Happy solar return to me, and thank you for listening, everyone out there. Remember to call 605-348-5111 for more information about the EA course or to schedule your private time with Star Lady. Until next new moon, move with joy and lots of passion on this always exciting journey to the core of our souls. Thank you very much for listening, everyone.